Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Kitty Cat, otherwise known as Catherine Simone here on YouTube. We are back at it again with another story time, tea time, us time video. It's a story time. Grab your tea, grab your snacks, grab a little drinky drink, whatever you feel like sipping on for tonight. And I've got a special story for y'all. This story is just such a pivotal moment, I feel like, in my life. I feel like this story is how my adult life really started, and also kind of how I started doing YouTube. If you are interested in watching why I was denied my dream job, then just keep on watching. When I was in high school, I worked at DIA. I worked at the airport. I was working at this Asian restaurant. I was the cashier, and I did that for 4 years. So I was this cashier at this restaurant at the airport. Our main customers, besides passengers, were flight attendants, pilots, other people who worked at the airport. Basically, I befriended a lot of flight attendants. Just kind of started just asking them, you know, oh, where are you going? What are you doing when you get there? And it seemed like it was so fun to just show up with your luggage for a couple days, get on a flight to Philadelphia, and it just seemed like so fun. And another reason why I was kind of into flight attendant was because my mom was a flight attendant. My mom's been flying since before I was born. Like, I was in the womb when she was, like, you know, first became a flight attendant. With my mom being a flight attendant and her always loving her job, she never ever came home ever pissed off about work. She always had fun stories to tell, some wild story with a passenger or some celebrity that she had met that day. It just always seemed like it was a really fun job. And being young, it was like, you know, why don't I give this a try? High school had ended. I had already applied to CSU. I had already gotten in, had already kind of set up my path to go there. And then I found out that, I think, what airline was it? I think it was Continental at the time. Continental was hiring. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, like, should I apply? And that's when I knew inside that I wanted to be a flight attendant. The only issue was, to become a flight attendant, for most airlines, you have to be 21, at least 21, because they serve liquor on the plane. I just barely had turned 18, so it was like, you know what? I already got into CSU. Why don't I just go do the college thing, go get my degree? That way I always have it in my back pocket in case I need it. And then when I get out, I could be a flight attendant if I want. If I don't, I already have a degree. It's fine, right? By the time that I was a sophomore or a freshman, I can't remember, I'm like, okay, when I get out of college, I'm going to become a flight attendant. Like, that's just what it is. I want to fly. I want to see the world. I got no husband, no kids. Like, might as well. Let's fast forward a couple years. I started getting really serious about becoming a flight attendant. When it got closer and closer to me graduating, I really started to give up some of my old habits. I had, like, broken up with all the dudes that I was seeing because I knew none of them would be able to handle me being a flight attendant. So I was single, and I even had started to wear heels on a daily basis because I wanted to be one of those flight attendants that wear heels on a daily basis. I was watching YouTube videos on how to ace the interview. I was researching all different kinds of airlines just to kind of get an idea of what my job every day would be like. I was saving to move to another state. Like, I took this so serious. This was something I really wanted, and I was ready for it. I had applied to a major airline, one that I had, like, was in my top 4, my top 5 that I really wanted to work for, and I was so excited. I'm about to apply to the airlines right now. I'm really scared. All I gotta do is hit that young submit, and my future gonna be lit. Then I think, like, the Sunday after my graduation, I got an email saying, hey, we got your application. We want to send you to the next round. I was like, ah! I'm so excited. I was like, oh my God, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. So I think the first interview, it asks you a question, but you have to video record what your response would be, and then you send it to them. Very, very odd, but I mean, you don't have to leave your house for it, so I was with it. So I did that. Then I got a response back from them saying, hey, we want to put you on to the next round. And I was like, ooh, I was just so excited. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is all happening so fast. The second interview was going to be out of state, right? So I live in Denver. The second interview was going to be all the way in Houston, Texas. So I'm so excited. The airline flew me out there. I did have to pay for my own hotel and whatnot, but everything worked out. And I went all the way out. Like, I went to the department store to get, like, a fancy, you know, blazer with a nice top and a skirt. Like, I wanted to look like a flight attendant when I walked into the interview. The day finally came. Like, I was up way before I needed to be there. I just didn't want to miss my opportunity. I was like, this is my moment. This is my chance, you know? And so I had made a few friends when I was there. Like, my first interview, it went so well. Like, me and the guy who was interviewing me, we just connected, we bonded, we laughed. It was just like, I'm made for this, baby. I should be your flight attendant. And I waited an hour and a half for the third and final interview. An hour and a half, right? So they had me in this room with all the other potential flight attendants, and we're just waiting for our next turn at the final interview. So an hour and a half goes by. I get into that final interview. There's 2 people interviewing me now. So, you know, things were off to a good start, and the questions that they were telling me, I know I was hitting them back with the fire answers. And then everything was so good until they asked me about tattoos. So I think they had asked me, hey, do you have any visible tattoos? And I was honest. I thought at that time of like, you know, if this is going to be my potential employer, I want to be upfront. I want to be honest. I really do value honesty. And I think whatever's done in the dark is always going to come to light. So I might as well tell you what's up now versus you finding out later. And I was like, it can be covered, you know, but it depends on what I'm wearing. It can be visible. And then I think they got curious. They said, okay, well, where is it? And of course, my tattoo for the interview was covered, for those of you who are wondering. I had a Band-Aid on it, I had my watch on top of the Band-Aid, and then I had a blazer that was even covering the watch. So I was triple covered. So they asked to see it. And as soon as I showed them my tattoo, like, the energy was different, like, everything just completely changed. And they were like, all right, with their, like, you know, their notes, like, well, you know, thank you so much for coming, you know, we really appreciate it. And it was like, wait, you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew that if I had gotten the job, like, they would have given me, like, okay, so here's the next step. Hey, let's start it. Like, I knew it was the final interview. I knew that, like, by the end of this trip, I would know if I was going to be a flight attendant or not. And it was over, just like that. The interview was over as soon as they asked me about that tattoo. As soon as the interview was over, I got into a car with 2 other candidates that were from Colorado because we were all going to the airport. So it was a guy and a girl. I told them, I was like, yo, Colorado gang, like, I think that I did not get this job. The other Colorado candidates were like, why don't you think that you got it? And I said, as soon as they asked me about tattoos, like, everything got weird, the energy was different, and then it was over. And the girl that was in the group was like, same. As soon as they asked me about my tattoos, it was over. Everything was going perfect. And then the whole tattoo thing came up and it was over. And she said that they didn't tell her anything further of moving on either. So we asked the guy, we were like, well, what did they tell you? And he was like, well, you know, they told us that we're not allowed to say anything. And we're like, okay, well, so what? It's just us in the car now. Just like, tell us what's going on. Tell us if you know, are you moving forward or not? And he didn't want to say anything. And so then we asked him, we said, well, do you have tattoos? And he said no. And I was like, all right then. And then as soon as we got to the airport, kid you not, me and the other Colorado girl, we're like going to the same direction. Yet he's going off to go take like his drug test, his vision test, his hearing test, because he got offered the job. At the airport at the time, like when everything was happening, I was like, you know what? If I didn't get this job, then you know what? It's just, it is what it is. Like, God has another plan for me. I know that there's something else out there for me if I did not get this. I was really positive about it at the time, you know, when everything was happening. Then, like, when I got home and then I had got the news that I didn't get it, I was so crushed. Like, I was just so sad. I think that was one of the most sad times in my life. Like, for a few weeks, I didn't get out of bed. I just cried all the time. You know, I never got out of bed. I got out of bed to go to work, my part-time job or whatever, and then I went back to my bed. Like, I just cried all the time, was so sad. I applied to other airlines, but all the major airlines I wanted to work at either weren't hiring, and the only other options were, you know, the not as favorable airlines. You know, so I was like, you know what? If you really want to be a flight attendant girl, you would apply to them regardless. It doesn't matter if they're a more prestigious airline or not, you would be applying. So I kind of took that mentality and I started applying to the other airlines. But then, you know, they called me back for an interview and like the wages were different, and like I had talked to other flight attendants who had similar experiences about working for them, and I was like, you know what, bump that noise. You know, if I'm going to be a flight attendant, it's going to be for one of the majors. It's going to be for my top 5. It should be for what I want. Like, this is my life, you know? If I want to work for the best company, I want to work for the best. what ended up happening was, after everything was said and done, and you know, some good things started to kind of happen in my life. The first thing that happened was I got a call from Ashley Wild asking me if I wanted to be part of a project called Box Wine and Bullshit on YouTube. Why not? I'll say yes to this YouTube thing. So then we started filming for Box Wine and Bullshit, and then soon after that, she urged me to start my own channel, this channel. And then from there, that's when, if y'all watch my story time about how MAC changed my life, that's when that counter manager at the MAC Cosmetics had told me to start working at MAC, you know, and to start doing makeup and into the beauty industry. And all three of those things like really changed my life, of being a part of Box Wine, starting my own YouTube channel, even getting into the beauty industry. None of those things at all would have happened had I became a flight attendant. I probably wouldn't even be living in Denver. I'd be living somewhere else. My journey, my path, my story would be a different story. I'm honestly so grateful that I didn't become a flight attendant. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe my younger self wouldn't believe that. The best thing about it is, like, I get to do YouTube now. Like, YouTube is one of my most favorite things I love doing that I never would have done if I had become a flight attendant. So I guess the moral of this story is that everything happens for a reason, and that you should trust your journey and trust your process and just believe that everything is going to be okay. Oh, and then all those other airlines, you're lost, honey. You're lost, honey. I would have been the best flight attendant ever. Watch this. Hello, sir. Can I get you anything to drink? Excuse me, ma'am. No airplanes on the airplane. Excuse me, ma'am. I need you to put your phone on vibrate now. Okay? Okay. I would have been perfect. I could still be one if I wanted to, but I don't right now. It is what it is. Everything happens for a reason. I'm happy. Life's good. And to everyone out there who, you know, you're going to get the job you want, don't be sad, because there's another one coming, honey. There's another one coming, all right? So stay positive, stay happy, and just believe. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Woo!